How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm having a great day, man. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. I just finished up with I was on a podcast and we went long, but excited for this. I can't wait.
Oh, me too, me too. I got to tell you, we obviously last week was the first episode, but the amount of feedback we had that was just through the roof was incredible. From social media to our Discord to even people in our coaching community and in person, they were just saying this kind of series is what they're looking forward to every single week. So appreciate you again, and I'm super excited to be
Yeah,
able to rock and roll and show some people how we can get some deals virtually.
amazing. Yeah, we same thing on our end. We had a lot of people that were just, excited about the content and, you know, every little thing. Like sometimes it's like one phrase or one thing they see that helps them to take action.
Hmm.
And it isn't always like, you have to practice, practice, practice to eventually learn it. Sometimes it's like an aha moment. Like one
For
little
sure.
thing has them think about like, "Oh my god, like that's it. That's what I needed." And then they just run with it.
And I
Um,
love that you brought that up because I feel like that's the thing that I really want to make sure to challenge everybody with that's watching this, whether it is live or watching the replay. At the end of the day, a lot of this information, if it comes across almost overwhelming or you can't comprehend what we're saying, don't hesitate to ask the question, one. But then two, like Benson had said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. You don't need to be able to obtain all the information from this one episode. What you need to do is take away one gold nugget. What is one nugget that you can take away from this that you can go and implement in your day-to-day business and what you're doing consistently with Privy? Like we always talk about on this, is that with Privy, this is the software that completely changed the game for us. We wish we had this when we were first starting on the MLS because it would have made our lives that much easier. And don't worry if it's not in your market. We had a couple people messaging us that on Discord. Benson's working on getting all the markets squared away. There's obviously some that are a little bit more challenging than others. So just be patient. But also, too, we appreciate all you guys being here. So I don't want to take too much time doing an introduction. Let's jump right into some value for some people. Last week, we
awesome.
kind of went through and found some buyers and showed how we can utilize Privy to do that. And even coincidentally, while we were trying to find buyers, we actually found a deal as well.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I think today we are going to focus primarily on identifying deals in virtual markets. And then also, too, the second part of that is that we don't want this to be scripted. We want you guys to know that this is real time, this is real live information. And also, too, we want to have it as interactive as possible. So if you guys don't mind in the chat, drop what market you would like us to go into, and we will pick one randomly every single week. So let us know what market you're in, drop it in the comments, and we will get one selected.
Awesome. Yeah, I would say too, just building off that while people are putting their market in there,
Yep.
um, is if you watch a lot of our content, you're going to hear us say a lot of the same things over again. And you're going to think, oh, they're talking about the same thing. But here's the thing: sometimes repetition is the key. You may have to hear something 5 times before it finally sets in, and you realize the weight of that statement and how important it is. Like repetition is a key piece of this. So if you think you've heard it all, you haven't. If you're out
Hmm.
there closing 50 deals, maybe you've got it down. But if you close 50 deals, you probably wouldn't be here right now, right? You'd be
Right.
out there closing more deals. So you're here for a reason, and let that repetition set in. Hear those things over and over again, and it will help you get to that moment where you're ready to take action, and then you can get out of your own darn way.
Absolutely. And we've got a bunch of these comments about markets. Benson, I'm pretty sure I chose one last week. So if you want to pick one this week, whichever one
R-
you're attracted to
Remind
here.
me what we did last week. Do you
I
remember?
think we did Ohio.
Okay, Ohio. Somebody mentioned Dallas Fort Worth. I think that's a great one.
Okay.
Let's look at the DFW.
I'm down for some DFW today. Let's go. Share screen.
Now, one of the interesting things about that one, why I liked showing that one, is because it's a non Texas is a non-disclosure state, and so the data there is even more difficult to come across to help you make, buying decisions or to understand values and comparables.
Hmm.
But in the markets where we got direct to MLS data, that's not an issue, and you're able to really drill down and see comp data and get photos and agent information. It's there for you.
Absolutely. So just so everyone knows where we're at, I just went to the Privy home screen. This is where you could see all the information. Benson, do you want to give like a little bit of a rundown again of blue, red, yellow, so everyone can understand? It's obviously up here, but just so that they can hear it
Yeah.
from you as well.
Yeah. So there's a few major things that you guys want to consider when choosing a market. Don't just look for deals where you live or where you work. I don't know how. I mean, Ryan, you just said all kinds of people are asking about my market.
Mm-hmm.
Screw your market. Like screw it. Now, your market may be good, but don't just use my market and choose it because you live there. Okay, if you've done the research and you like it because there's high investor activity there, you got direct MLS data, you're your own boots on the ground. There's lots of buyers there. If those things are in line and you happen to live there, great. But don't choose my market because you live there. It's going to cause you to fail. I promise you. If you don't have high investor activity, could you stumble into a deal there? Maybe if you're lucky, but you're not going to be able to accomplish what it is you wanted to accomplish when you got into this business in the first place, which is to create wealth,
Mm-hmm.
to get a bunch of money and actually make money and change the life of yourself, your family, and your community. You won't be able to do that in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to be able to do it because the data is not there to be able to do it. The ingredients aren't there to build a business. So if you click at the top where it says the fix and flip button, Ryan, that's going to show you where all the fix and flips that have happened in the last 12 months. Now, you want to be in a direct to MLS area. The screen prior to that, it was wherever you see blue. Dallas
Mm-hmm.
Fort Worth was one of those areas. So if you kind of zoom in on the Dallas Fort Worth area, Ryan, then these clusters here of the high investor activity are going to start to break up. And then you're going to see like certain areas are hotter than others. Now look at Dallas Fort Worth compared to, some of these other, look at Amarillo. There's like 150 deals out there total.
Yep.
If you live in Amarillo, don't look for deals there. Look for deals in Dallas Fort Worth. It's
Right.
probably a 2.5 hour drive on a weekend if you want to go look at properties, but don't use looking at a property with your own two eyes as some sort of a requirement for you doing deals there. It's going to hold you back.
100%. And also, too, I mean, to his point about going virtual, that's contrary to what a lot of people will tell you in the industry. They're going to say start off in your backyard to where you can go and you can walk the properties. What the goal is here is to make sure you guys understand there's multiple ways to do this. What we emphasize with Privy about going virtual is that the opportunity is almost endless. There's consistently people that are buying in other markets. There's consistently deals being sold in other markets. Whereas if you are in a smaller market or even one that doesn't have data on Privy, obviously the best option on the table then is to look into other markets. So Dallas Fort Worth is a major, major market for a lot of investors. And we have a lot of people in our communities that are going and doing deals every single month in these markets. So
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And so as you drill down there, you can see that there's these larger circles. So the higher circles with the higher numbers has more activity. More of the ingredients are present there for you to do a deal.
yep. Absolutely. And so now we have it selected up here as the blue, meaning that these are all fix and flip properties that have already been bought, sold, and flipped, correct?
They are, right? And this is how you learn the market. So if you live in Amarillo, how do you get comfortable with doing a deal in Dallas? Well, you zoom in and you look at the data. The data is going to tell you whether or not there's deals there and how you analyze a deal.
Absolutely. And so last week we went through and we clicked on this button and then we clicked on a specific market where we were looking to try to find the buyer first. The reason why we always want to find a buyer first is because I think this is where a lot of people in the wholesale world get really stuck on the process. They go in, they're told to go find discounted properties, right? And at the end of the day, what you need to understand is that is obviously the goal, but let's make sure we have the tools on the tool belt before we go in and try to do a job. So what I mean by that is having a buyer lined up first is going to one give you the confidence to where you can actually go in and submit offers with the assurance that you can close on it, and two, it makes you legit. I want to make sure I really emphasize that so you guys understand that when we're talking about people that are going and just getting properties under contract with no buyer lined up, I want to really make sure you guys take this point home. If you are going and getting properties under contract without buyers lined up or having a buying capability yourself, you're wasting not only your own time, but you're wasting the time of the seller and the agents. What do you think people do when they go and they get a property under contract? They start packing up their house. They start making plans. They turn off utilities. They start telling their friends. If you're going to back out on them, that's going to be a distraught situation where not only are you probably going to make a lot of people upset, you're going to lose the relationship with the agent that could be bringing you multiple deals every single month. So what we always emphasize to start is to find a buyer first. If you didn't get a chance to watch the live from last week, start there and then come back and watch this one too. But last week we were really going to show you guys how you can find a market, get comfortable with it, and then two, you can also understand what the buyers are actually purchasing, what percentage of ARV, what to the extent of rehab they're doing, and how long it's taking them to do the deals. So you're getting all the puzzle pieces put on the table. Now we're going to go in on this episode today and show you guys how to kind of connect the puzzle together.
Oh yeah, key things, right? He's so right about that. But also, it's just a better flow too, because you can't go out and look for a deal if you don't know what the definition of a deal is.
Mm-hmm.
So who defines what a deal is? It's the buyer. The buyer's definition of a deal is what you want to think about. You're not going to use some universal formula like the 70% MAO formula that so many people use, right? That's going to lead you to make a mistake. You want to find the buyer, like we did last week, talk to them and say, listen, I see this house you closed last week. You got it at 59% of the ARV in, Dallas Fort Worth. It's a 3.2, 1,200 square feet. Is that kind of what your buy box is? Tell me more about what you're looking for. They'll define that for you. And then they'll say, yeah, well, we got that one at 59%, but really we want to be lower than, 55%. So then
Yep.
at that point what a deal is. At that point you can go look for deals. If you go out and you look for deals first, well, what are you looking for? What's your criteria of a deal if you haven't talked to buyers? You're guessing. Don't
Mm-hmm.
guess. Use data, use conversations with buyers to determine what a deal is, and then go out and replicate it. And by the
Mm-hmm.
way, most buyers are going to have similar buy boxes, right? They're all going to be similar percentages of ARV. There's going to be some variations with the number of bedrooms and bathrooms and that sort of thing. That's totally okay. But really, in most markets, the percentage of ARV is going to be very similar
For
in
sure.
most markets. The other thing that would make it different is whether it's a fix and flipper or a landlord. Fix and
Mm-hmm.
flippers are going to need a much lower percentage of ARV to make the margins work, because they have to account for all the costs, the construction costs, and the timeline of fees and that sort of thing. Whereas a landlord, they might say, you know what, I'll pay 90% of the ARV as long as the
Mm-hmm.
house will cash flow $300 a month and
Well,
is in this city.
and the beauty of that too was like last week example where we had the deal in Ohio. It was a $70,000 purchase price. They had just reduced it like $20,000 off of where they originally listed, and it was cash flowing $866 a month. So if it's 866, I mean, you guys just do the math with me here. Do the 866 times by 12, divide by that purchase price of 70,000. If I recall correctly, I think it was like 14.9% return. That's assuming you buy it at the 70,000. What if you get it under contract at 60, 65 and you end up wholesaling it out? It may not be a big 30K wholesale fee, but if you can get a $2,500, $5,000, $7,500 assignment fee, that gets the momentum going and it gives you that proof of concept that you can actually do the deals. So buy and hold investors will absolutely pay a little bit more. I always get the question of like, what's the golden nugget here? What's the percentage of ARV I should be submitting all these offers at? I will give you the most typical answer here in any kind of attorney, whatever I guess we'll say is it depends. And in that case, what I'm talking about is that it ranges depending on the market and then also too how good of buyers you have. And then lastly is the renovation cost. If the property is a teardown, you obviously can't assume it's 55% of ARV. If I had to give you an average, it's typically 55 to 65% of ARV. Buy and hold investors are 65 to 70. But if only we had a software that we're showing you guys right now that will tell you exactly what the buyers bought the percentage of ARV at. Oh, wait, we have
If
that.
only, if
Wait,
only.
absolutely. So Benson, if you don't mind, like let's go ahead and let's show them how we can find a buyer first. We won't spend too much time on that, but we can at least
Yeah,
understand like how we can get a buyer in this market, and then let's go find some properties.
let's do it.
Awesome. So again, not scripted. Which one of these do you want us to pick?
Either or. Let's look at Fort Worth,
Okay. So the 197 or in Arlington 522.
the 522, right?
Okay.
So the numbers help you guys to figure out which ones to go for. You just, to make it simple, go to the ones that have the higher numbers. They'll make it so much easier for you. And then they're going
Absolutely.
to look at the 65, and you're going to drill down into that 65.
Okay.
And then once you get close enough, you guys, these clusters, they break up into the individual properties that we're looking at here. So all of these red icons are successful closed deals. And some of you are thinking, well, I don't want to look at closed properties. I want to look at leads. No, don't put yourself too ahead. This
Mm-hmm.
is how you learn what a deal is. You can't go look for leads unless you know what a deal is.
Right.
So that let's look at that one at the top there. It sold for 247 on
240.
Winfield.
Okay, so this one right here on the left-hand side.
Hmm.
And this is sorted by anything specific right now, or is this just going to be by like the close of escrow date? How is this filtered?
Sold date.
Sold date. Okay, so this one sold on February, what is that, 9th? Yeah, February 9th, 2023. So, I mean,
Mhm.
we are on the 15th. That means that this deal closed 6 days ago. So, in this case, if this deal just closed 6 days ago and it was renovated, I could probably assume that this is a fix and flipper that's looking for another deal.
Yep.
So, now we want to click on this one to take a look at it and go a little bit further in on the detail. 247,000. And then from here, we scroll down to the comparables. Is that right, Benson?
Yep. You look at the comparables. I mean, just a couple things to note about this. So this report is called a live comparative market analysis. We're building one of these for every single property in the US. And we're putting all of the information you need to analyze a property in one place. You don't have to bounce around to different websites. 20 years experience in the business, um, real estate agent, access to MLS data. This is a game changer for me, right?
Yep,
Because the comping algorithm is doing all the work there for me. Look, those are all the true comparables.
absolutely. And so this is our subject property right here. And we could tell that these ones right here are from the investors. So this one is saying 895 or 859 would be one of our comps. And this one up here is saying 349 is one of our comps. So I
Yep.
would like to see this 859. I mean, let's take a look at it just to kind of deep dive
Well,
in
they're
here.
they're all comparables. It's just that the algorithm there, you must have done a deal search prior, so it's leveraging what it done before. This is already a closed deal.
Hmm.
So I would say let's look at the before and after, and then we'll look at comps later as far as like what a deal is.
Yep,
But this here is showing us that this house was purchased off market. You can see how it says public record there.
up at the top. Yep,
Yep, that means that that was purchased directly from the seller. So they did not get this from the MLS. They got this directly from the seller. And then the pricing right there, down below, that shows they bought it for 156,000. They sold it for 247. So they
yep.
got it at 64% of the ARV.
So now I can assume that that's what this person's probably comfortable with as long as they have enough margin to be able to turn around and flip it, right?
Right. So this couldn't be falling over, right? If this house had a tree growing through the middle of it and the roof was gone and it was just a burnout, 64% would have never worked. So,
Right.
you know, we have to assume this house was in fair condition when they got it. But what this also tells us is a couple different things. This person is willing to pay up to 64% of the ARV in the right condition. On the right, we can see the after pictures. If they bought this from the MLS, we would show you the before pictures, so you can really see the real change.
Right.
But look at the timelines. So it was under construction for 88 days. That's the day from when they bought it to when they relisted it. The DOM is when the marketing time from when they listed it to when it closed.
Yep.
And the total hold time is the day from when they bought it to when they put the check in the bank.
So we can make the assumption that they are in and out of these properties in what is that, 4 or 5 months?
Yeah,
And
pretty
that's
quick.
probably with the fact that this market shifted 68 days. I mean, Fort Worth is a hot market. So there was obviously the shift that happened in the market over the last like 7, 8 months. That in this case, the days on market on average for agents and for investors went from what was typically by the time you were done with the listing paperwork, you already had 5 offers to now it's a completely normal process to be on market for 30, 40 days.
Yeah,
So they might have been a little overpriced. Did they do a price reduction? Is there a way that we can see that information?
sometimes. But if you go
Okay.
into the actual history, if you scroll down a little bit
Yep.
and go to property history, right there you can see.
So it
So
was put
listed,
active. Yep. Went pending.
it went pending. So they did do a price reduction on it. They went
Yeah.
pending fairly quickly.
And it looks like it was listed at 265. And then are we able
Oh,
to tell?
the
It
price
looks like
reduction.
they might have gotten a price reduction or they maybe negotiated it down during the inspection period.
Yep.
Because 259 from where it was at 265. If I had to guess based on this, they were probably under contract. They asked for a credit, and rather than the investors going back on market, what they can do instead is just give them a credit or reduce the price. It wasn't too big of a price reduction, but in this case too, it looks like it was at 259. It sold at 247. They did do a price reduction of like 10K, and then it ended the price over at 247.
Yep.
So most importantly, though, is that we can assume out of that 247 price, and this is what I love, it takes the end number. It doesn't take where it was listed at, but it takes the number it sold out of 247, and 64% of that is 156,940 times by
Yep.
64% comes out to like 158. So give or take, but
Yeah. So
perfect.
if you go down to the assessor's info there, this one is fairly new. So if you go there, it'll show you who the flipper was. So We Four Homes LLC,
Beautiful.
right?
So we four homes LLC. In that case, would I be able to contact this buyer directly, or should I go to the agent, or does it make a difference?
I would actually contact them directly first if you can. You could right click that and do a quick Google search. You might turn up a website or a Facebook group. Looks like it right there. It says, there's their open corporates listing. I don't see any website, but you'll see a director here or a manager, and every one of these people you can find through
Social
like
media, I would say,
or True People Search,
for
fairly
sure.
quickly, right? It's a free skip tracing service, you guys. TruePeopleSearch.com,
Love it.
and then you can get phone numbers, or you could go into a skip trace service, and they have one-off skip traces you could do, or you can actually download all of those closed flips in that area. If you go back to that, um, all of those red ones that were on the map initially, you can export those into a list, and you can go and you can find buyers on mass. But I actually recommend against that, especially if you're brand new to the market, because going through this exercise of looking at the property, looking at the pictures, and doing all of that is extremely valuable in you getting your local market education,
Right.
understanding what a deal looks like, who are the players, what are people buying properties at, what are they selling them at. All that kind of information would take 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a fix and flipper in that market, many, many years to understand, but you can do it in minutes with Privy. We can turn
Absolutely.
you into a local market expert like that.
And so the most important piece here, also, just to make sure that I'm understanding correctly too, is that it doesn't make sense to necessarily go through the photos at the beginning. It makes more sense to look at the data and then understand what the buyer did in the transaction, then look at the photos, the before and after afterwards, correct?
Yeah, I think so. The numbers are more important than the photos anyway, but the photos for me helps me understand that this is a real flip,
For
right?
sure.
Which is one of the problems when you do third market or third party MLS like our competitors. That's all they have. They don't have the photos. So you're able to really say, okay, this house here, now this is a comp for us.
Absolutely.
The whole point of looking in these high investor activity areas, Ryan, and you'll back me up on this, I think, is that we now want to look for unrenovated homes in the same neighborhood as this renovated home,
Correct. Absolutely.
right? So that unrenovated home that's in the neighborhood of a fixed and flipped house, as long as it's priced correctly as is, will be a deal.
For sure. And most importantly, with that, is that we have a buyer that we know would be interested in this. So in this case, what I would advise too, and again, we might have a few things that Benson says one strategy, I say the other. The beauty of that, I want you guys to take away, is that there is no way that is better than the other. The best way to do it is just to take action and find what works for you. In this case, going directly to that buyer is a great strategy. What I like to do is I like to go to the agent that represented them in the transaction, because I know that if they work with one investor, they might work with many. Now,
Yep.
also being mindful too, if I go to an agent relationship, the odds are is that I'm going to have to pay them part of my assignment fee. I'm going to have to pay them a commission. There's a way that I'm going to have to compensate them for their time. So just be mindful. That's obviously the con. The pro is that they have more relationships than just the one buyer. All that said, if I had to give you a strategy I would go and do, I would reach out to the buyer first. If they don't answer or if they're not responsive, go to the person that has the contact with the buyer, and it's the agent that represented them in the transaction. So obviously that's dependent on which Privy platform you have. If you're a licensed agent, you can see the contact information of the agent. If not, Benson, how do I find the buyer's agent that represented them in this transaction? Is there a way?
Yeah. So at the top right there, underneath the address, there's have that blue tab, and there's the Elite Realty, Daryl Tater. You would just Google that, and it was going to find his information really quickly. It's literally just one click away. There's Daryl right there. He's with Har. Um,
We've
one
got
of
all
these
of these. Yeah.
here is going to have his phone number in it, his email address, and so it's really simple to find. There's his phone number right there. right? I mean,
And so when
do
it
you want to
says
call him?
sold, yeah, let's do it. So when this is sold by, is he representing the buyer or the seller in the transaction?
The seller.
Perfect. So if I know he was representing the seller, and just to make sure I'm asking these questions because I want to make sure everyone fully understands this.
Hmm.
So with making sure you guys understand that he represented the seller in the transaction was the buyer of the house that flipped it and made it like this. So Daryl is either a part of that entity or has a partnership with them, or he just represents them in transactions that they go in and they flip. So in this case, I'm going to call Daryl. I'm going to introduce myself and I'm going to say, hey, I saw your clients just flipped a property on Winfield Avenue. Are they looking to do some more projects? Because if they are, I would love to send them your way. So let's go ahead and call Daryl. Let me know how this microphone is with the calls. And if I need to adjust it or turn it up, I can do that.
Cool. This is where it gets exciting, you guys. Like real world work. Like you're getting ready to see an artist in action.
I'm Deal Casso.
There you go. Get it closer. Winfield Avenue.
Please leave your message for.
All right. I don't do voicemails on this one. I'm just gonna send him a text and I'm gonna show you guys the text. It's gonna say, hey Daryl. Working on a few deals right now, and we have something similar to the one your investor client just did on, is it Winfield?
Winfield Ave.
Are they looking for more flips? Because at the end of the day, this is like the catchphrase we use. The hardest part of being the agent is to find the client. The hardest part of being the investor is to find the deal. So we are killing two birds with one stone here. One, the hardest part of being the agent is to find the client. Well, Daryl already has the relationship with the flipper that went in and flipped this property. That's great on his end. But what ends up happening is if the investor's hardest part is to find the deal and the flipper doesn't have another deal to flip, Daryl doesn't have a deal to sell, meaning that he has a client, but he doesn't have inventory to put up on the MLS. So the text that I sent out, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I'll just read it to you guys. Hey, Daryl, working on a few deals right now, and we have something similar to the one your investor client just did on Winfield Avenue. Are they looking for more flips? And Denise, I saw that you just put that text, this up here. So again, hey, Daryl, working on a few deals right now, and we have something similar to one your investor client just did on Winfield Avenue. Are they looking for more flips? The end of the day, what I want them to understand is that this person's going to come back to me and he's going to be like, okay, yeah, awesome. Send it over to me. He's not going to have me send it directly to the buyer. Instead, what he's going to do is he's going to have me send it to him. He'll send it to the client. And if they're interested, they'll probably use the cash they have. They'll use a hard money loan. They might have private money lenders. However they finance it, it is what it is. But then we'd wholesale the deal to them for a cash transaction. So in this case, we have a buyer lined up. We'll pretend that Daryl obviously answered the phone and that he and his clients are more than willing to go and buy some more properties. But the key is that in this case, he would probably say, absolutely, I'm definitely looking. My clients are ready. They're looking for the next flip. So if that's the case, he's going to break down what their buy box is. Now, most importantly is while we can go in and identify what their buy criteria is, what is more important is actually seeing the past deals. And this is something that we really emphasize inside Agent Investors is qualifying out our buyers before we go and submit deals or offers for deals on the MLS. And so in this case, even if his buy box was something similar, we can obviously refer back to this deal on Winfield, where we can say they're probably looking for 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. It doesn't really matter the year or lot size, but they're looking for 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, probably 800 square feet and up, under ideally $250,000.
Yeah, go to the before and after again. What did they buy it for?
Bought it for 156.
156. So 64%. So the 64% then, you guys, is something that we can use as a gauge that if we can find something that they're interested in and it's in a similar condition to this house on Winfield when they bought it, that they would pay up to 64% of the ARV.
Correct.
Right. So now we've got a starting point to start looking for deals.
So now let's go look for these deals. We have a buyer that's looking to buy at 64% of ARV. What do we do next?
Well, we want to find something that we can get for less than that.
Okay.
Right. So you can there's off market deals. Before we look at more on, if you just click the filter real quick, Ryan, if you want to pull lists, if you're going to pull foreclosures or absentee owners or vacancies or tired landlords, right in the middle there, the quick filters, those are all there for you. You can absolutely do it. Just be more strategic on where you pull those lists from. Don't
Right.
pull that list in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, because no one's going to. There's no data there to prove value. There's no buyers buying there. There's no data there to prove ARV. Pull your list in this neighborhood that we're looking in now, or neighborhoods like that in markets that you're targeting. That way, if you find a quote unquote motivated seller, you can now give them an offer that's based off of a home that was down the street that was flipped. And you
Absolutely.
can give them a better offer instead of being in an area in Sioux Falls where you have to give them an offer that's so low that the chances of them accepting it are slim to none.
So this is my first time ever going through a filter. I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. I want to make sure,
Mhm.
because I have a fix and flip buyer that Daryl represents in the transaction. I want to first off make sure that this button is clicked for fix and flip. I moved the ARV percentage, which was it starts off at 75. I moved it to 64 because that's what I know they're willing to pay. What
Mhm.
else do I need to put in here?
You're going to switch it to active from
Okay.
sold and unchecked sold. And then you're going to change the sort on the far right under filters, switch it to days on market.
Okay.
And then under timeline on the left and the date,
Yep.
change that to say the past month.
Okay. So we're looking for anything that has been sitting on market for at least the past month that is at 64% of ARV that's active on market.
Hmm.
Okay.
And we know a price too. So let's put a price ceiling in there. Let's say that we don't want to pay over 200 grand. We're just assuming that, but let's say we did talk to him. So go
Okay.
ahead and click run search.
Oops.
Zoom out a little bit there. There you go. So here's a
Beautiful.
handful of properties that it found. So that top one, 190,000. It came on the market. It's only been on the market for 1 day.
It looks like they raised the price on it. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay.
Um, so the reason why we flag this one as a deal is because there's 3 comps here that are blue, and those are represented in that blue investor comp section below. So you see
Correct.
those percentages in the percent ARV
Yep.
section? Those are all lower than 64%, 64% or lower. So those are the 3 comps that says this thing has a potential ARV that supports our what we want to do.
Absolutely. And so in this case too, it looks like that 297 is going to be one of those blue. The 305 is the other blue. 309 is up here. Now, just
Mhm.
rules of comping, I wouldn't necessarily love using this 309, but what I could say is that outside of the 309, 297 and 305 are definitely in the right area compared to this one. This one, see if we can zoom in a little bit. Because if this one's on the other side of the street, I don't love that as much. I mean, it doesn't look like this is a major intersection, so it's not terrible. And given how close it is to the property, that's a good
Mhm.
opportunity.
Yep.
Now, the one thing I will say too is that I personally don't love going after the day one on markets. I think that you can, and there's definitely success rates that I know that we're even missing out on every month. But what I like is the low hanging fruit, which is the motivating factor that if it's on market for longer than 30, 60, 90 days, there's
Mhm.
opportunity there because it's not selling. I know that I've crossed off one of the biggest hurdles in my opinion, which is knowing that they want to sell the house, because the hardest part of being the investor is to find the deal. So if I can check off that I know that they're interested in selling, they listed an agent to do so, what's the next step from there? Now it's just making sure that the numbers align and the seller's situation is taken care of. So in this case, even if I wanted to be conservative and go off this 297, I love how simple that is that you can see it side by side. And this one looks like it was sold in December of last year. So this is a great comparable property. We have ours is a 3-1, 1092. This is a 3-2, 1100 square feet. Obviously, us not having extra bathroom is a pretty big indicator that our ARV has to be adjusted based off this. But where I would say that this property, again, this is my struggle with day one on market, is that this is listed at 190. If I were to adjust my ARV to say like 275, maybe even 280, what I'm going to have to do is take that same factor off of 190. Now, if I come in as the strongest offer, put up non-refundable earnest money, and I have strong terms, I very well could be the person that gets this. However, if it's been sitting on market for at least 60 days, I have more leverage with my negotiations. So in this case, like for example, 275,000 times by 0.64 is like 176. I
How'd
have
you get
full confidence.
270? I'm curious. The 270.
I only did that just to be conservative, just because a lot of the flippers we've been working with in
Hmm.
Arizona, we're just factoring in a lot of change with the market that happened. So there's usually
Mm.
an additional like 5 to 10% just for the adjustment. And I mean, even
So
so, if I
you weren't doing a $27,000 bathroom.
no. And I think that's just being conservative,
Yeah.
275. I mean, realistically, the point of why I wanted to go lower too is to show everyone in that kind of price range from 190 to 176. That's not unfeasible. Like a lot of times people go in on deals where it's listed at 190 and their offer is like 85,000 and it's insulting. So in this case, even based off of my super conservative adjustment to the ARV, that in my case is actually being like super generous. I mean, I agree with Benson. It could probably be more like 280. 280 times by 0.64. I mean, that's 180. So you're talking $10,000 difference. That's not that bad at all.
That's not unreasonable at all. That's something that you could negotiate for sure. But then at that point, you'd be at the top of the market for assigning it. So if you did 180,
Yep.
what percentage of that is that? So 180 divided by what was the ARV you said?
Even if we run it like 280, that would be 0.64.
Okay, so you'd have to get it a little bit less than that for a We4 Homes to be interested in that, right?
Correct. So
And
I'd
even
say
if it's only a
realistically,
$1,000 difference, like
right,
one of the things that people they have these 5,000, 10,000, $15,000 assignment fees in their brain, like that's what I need.
right.
But but we spent 5 minutes looking for this thing. Like if
Hmm.
you could get it under contract for 179 and you sell it to them for 180 and you make $1,000 and you spent 5 minutes on the deal, like that's like the best ROI you're ever going to get in your business. Like
For
that
sure.
is solid return on your time investment.
And somebody had asked too, was this property renovated? It looks like we can't see the photos because it's Google Images, but this property was sold off market.
It was an
The
off
beauty,
market
the
sale.
beauty, it was off market or was not.
Yeah, it was an off market sale.
So this was off market. The beauty behind this is that I was running my numbers conservatively off the fact that I'm assuming this one is in beautiful condition. What if this is just in like livable condition? What if it has original cabinets, needs updated paints, the flooring isn't anything crazy, kitchen isn't anything crazy? Our ARV could be higher and be closer to a little bit of that 297 number. So
Hmm.
that's a beautiful situation too, is when your comparables, you don't even know if they're renovated, but just judging by the exterior of the home, it doesn't seem to be. So what I like about that and this other comparable, the one at 305 even, this 305, same thing, off market. And I think all of us here that have done a couple deals, we can agree that based on this property probably needs a little TLC. So 305, 290. I mean, realistically, even after going through that, I would say our ARV is probably closer to that 285, 290 number. Now, making sure that when you're going and submitting offers on these deals, you do have a buyer lined up like the We4 Homes LLC. But also, too, what I would recommend before you go and submit offers, have at least 3 to 5 buyers. So if you have 3 to 5 buyers lined up, the point of that is that if you go in and We4 Homes LLC comes back and says, listen, Ryan, there's no way in hell I'd pay anything less than one or more than 150 for that thing. Okay, well, if they say they won't pay more than 150 for it, I don't want to go and have to retrade price reduction from 179 or 175, whatever we're at, to 145. That's a hard price reduction. You could usually get justification through an inspection or having legitimate reasons as to why the price needs to be lower. But at the end of the day, what we pride ourselves with our business is that when we give a number with non-refundable earnest money, that's our number. So having a few buyers lined up, what you could even do too is if you really trusted them, you could get their opinion on this deal prior to getting under a contract. I do put a disclaimer on that. The reason I don't really like to go and push that on people is that there is no protection in the deal. If you go and you tell someone to go and get that, or you tell someone you want a buy number from it and you don't have it under contract, what's going to end up happening is that the buyer could go around you in the transaction. That's why I said make sure that it's someone you know, love, and trust. But this is how I got my first few deals. I went to a couple people out in Arizona and I said, hey, I'm in negotiations on 123 Main Street. Can I send it over to you and you give me a number you'd commit at? Now, these were people that extremely high integrity would go back, they'd look at the property, seeing it's on market active. And rather than calling the listing agent, they had the full respect to me that I had found the deal before them. So they said, hey, Ryan, on 123 Main Street, it's listed at 200. I would commit non-refundable earnest money at 170. So then I knew if I could get anything below 170, I had a buyer lined up with non-refundable earnest money. So I'd go get a deal under contract at 160, 165, and then I would assign it out to them at that 170 number with non-refundable earnest money. And then what they would end up doing is probably even going and flipping and wholesaling it too. So if they were to go and wholesale it, I didn't care what they made because I got the number I was looking for. they were also my safety net, and everybody won in that transaction. So that's how I reverse engineer the process. The other option, which is obviously the one that's recommended, is to just go and get the property under contract, and then from there, wholesale it out because you have equitable interest in the property. I just didn't want to waste anybody's time. So that's how I first started. But all that said, I mean, you have a 100K spread between where a property just sold that needs renovation and a deal that was just listed at 190. And now the most important piece to this, we talked about the data. We analyzed what our buyer would pay. We talked about the deal. Now let's go look at some photos.
That one is amazing.
Beautiful.
This is like a great remodel because it's solid, right? It's just like heavily lived in.
And even so, that flooring's staying. But I mean, you might be able to save those cabinets. If not, if you can't just paint those or like sand them down, I mean, what I would say is that you'd redo a kitchen, you'd redo walls. The bathroom has some original touch that you could keep. You'd want to repaint it and maybe renovate that shower a little bit and the vanity. Paint, obviously, call it carpet. This isn't anything extensive in a remodel. Now, I don't know the price per square foot in this market specific, but what I can say is that in this deal, I have grounds to go and get a property lower than where it's listed at. Now, the one case to where I wouldn't is if they had this property with a bunch of interest. So I think there's only one way to find out. And let's go ahead and call this agent.
Let's call him.
And so just to recap, too, listing courtesy of Coldwell Banker. This is Gay Reed. Okay.
Yeah, Denise is asking, but they raised the price 10K on Valentine's Day. Will they still be willing to come down on the price? You don't know till they ask.
Right. And also, too, watch this. This is going to be some fun stuff because this is the whole point of why we're doing this series for you guys is that we can go and show you guys the software all day long, but how about we show you the meat and potatoes, too, of how you get the deal done? Because if we can go and get deals set up for you guys live, the whole point of why we want to do this and why we want to grow this like video for you guys is that we want to give you guys deals. We want to give you the exact roadmap, and we want to show you guys how to go and do all the action steps. And then from there, you guys go take these deals and get them to the finish line. And obviously, if you guys need help with anything with closing the deal, if you guys need help with buyers or anything like that, depending on the market, I could help you guys out. Let's go.
Come on, Gay, where you at?
I know.
Hi, it's Gay Reed. Please leave your name, number,
well, we know it was the right number.
Message, and I'll call you back as quickly as I can. Thanks. Bye. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, this is Ryan Zolin, just calling about a property you have listed out in Arlington on Glenhaven Street. I'm actually interested in purchasing this one myself. I just had a few questions about the property. If you could give me a call back, I would really appreciate it. This is my cell. Thanks. I was about to say my number, but also too, I don't know where this video goes on YouTube, so I love you guys, but send me a DM on Instagram. So in this case too, the goal here is that she's going to call back. And if you guys notice too, I am a licensed agent. I don't need to go in screaming from the mountaintop from the beginning. I'm a licensed agent. Now, the reason I do that is because I'm not disclosing it. I just haven't gotten to the point of the conversation where I need to disclose it. I need to disclose it before I go under contract. In this case, this is negotiations. And the reason I don't go in saying I'm a realtor is because I'm open to having her represent me in the transaction, just like how every single one of you should be doing if you are not licensed. Now, understanding the 3 different ways you can get a transaction done is obviously key too. You can go unrepresented, where there's no commission to the buy-side agent. You just need some kind of documentation that the seller is going to be getting that money back in their pocket. 2, a traditional deal, which is where there's a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. Usually commission is paid for by the seller total. And then 3, which is the favorite that I would recommend, especially to get deals done, is the dual agency. That is where the listing agent or the same listing brokerage represents both the seller and the buyer in the same transaction. Now, typically we utilize this strategy to negotiate to get the price a little bit lower, because if the agent's getting both sides of commission, they can typically do something where instead of getting 6% total, they'll do 4.5%. They'll put an extra 1.5% into the seller's pocket. Everybody wins. Now, obviously, disclaimer there too, don't ask the agent to do that. They have to be savvy enough to and willing to, more importantly, and they need their broker to sign off on it. But the dual agency is going to be one way to get the deal done, because as much as I want to say that they're going to do what's fair, the agents that are getting paid twice as much money will definitely go to bat for you more, or they'll disclose to you what you need to do to get the deal done because they want twice as much money. ADRE, don't come after me. But yeah. So in this case too, I would not recommend writing an offer until you talk to the agent. If you wanted to send a text afterwards,
Agreed.
you can. But what I would recommend is just sitting tight. The whole point of this is to show you guys, and I've done videos like this before with Benson and Jamil, where we could get 5 offers out in an hour and a half. I will tell you guys with full confidence, the faster you get more comfortable with the software, the faster it is to get the offers out. Now, the goal here should be your KPIs. Everybody talks about being consistent and high motivation and blah, 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 but no one talks about let's make sure we understand what the consistent action should be. So in a minimum, I would recommend talking to 50 realtors per day. The 50 realtors per day could be a mix of people that have buyers, that have listings. Anyone and everything that you're doing should be with the intent of trying to build a relationship. So in this case too, what I was hoping she would answer is, so I could show you guys, is that she probably raised the price because there's a lot of interest, or because, there's a lot of factors. Probably a lot of interest. She fat fingered it and accidentally put 8 instead of 9. She looked a little bit older. 3 is that maybe she's just like, I think the client just wanted us to raise the price. That happens too. Doesn't need to make sense. Unfortunately, she has the listing, which is what we're looking for, supply and demand 101. But what I could do there is that I was going to show you guys how to build and nurture that relationship, that even if it wasn't this deal, it's going to be the next. So I'm not getting off this live till I at least get one agent on the phone so I can show you guys. So let's try to find
Let's
another
do
one.
it. Hopefully Gay calls back. She's just busy.
Oh yeah, she's busy with some clients doing some showings. Let's take a look at this one. This looks like it needs some love.
Mm-hmm. With the neighbor's house.
134,950. And there's a remodel right there. So let's take a look here. Where are we? We're probably across the street. So our comparables, one on 4th Street, which is probably...
It's the blue one. It's the one that's furthest away.
Okay. Now in this case, I see we're 1127, 31. I'm not opposed to crossing that major intersection. Those that are familiar with the market, you guys can tell me if that's right or wrong. In Arizona, it's a huge no, but out here, it seems like it's a little bit more countryside, so bigger lots,
yeah,
probably less activity. So in this case, as long as this is remodeled, beautiful.
Updated
For
hey,
sure.
one thing we can do, Ryan, to pull in more comps, we recently added our comp adjuster to Privy. So if you go into settings,
yep,
do the delta for the square feet 20%. We actually start off by default at 15. Click save. That might bring in some additional data that you can use.
Nothing on this one. I think this one's just like I said, a little more countryside. But
yeah.
Let's take a look at. So we are at 134, 179. What's this? 145, 32, 1130.
This one needs some work, but that one, this might just not have enough data to really move forward with it.
Right.
For Privy, when we flag these things, we have to have at least one comp that says it's a deal. That's why we flag those things. So let's look at another one.
Is there a way to that I can go in and do? Would this flip the days on market to be the longest?
It does, yeah.
Okay, so now I'm listed 28 days ago, so we're going on a month here, and we're right in here, so we're right in the heart of this all. So 1908 Ash Crescent Street. I love that photo.
The other thing that's limiting us here, Ryan, is the price. So we put in 200K. So anything,
and we had a comment too.
Higher than that, that might be a real low price for the area. See, look at Malachi, yeah, up to 400K. So
we got a call coming in. So let me show you guys too. I'm in front of my computer. I can't remember which one it is. Let's take a look here. If it's in this tab, it's her.
Okay.
This is Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. This is Dave Reed returning your call.
Hi. Yeah. Hey, I was taking a look at a property that you had listed, and I was just wondering if it was still available. Was it? It's the one on Glenhaven Street.
Yes, I received 2 lowball offers yesterday, and he rejected those. I've received 2 today, one coming in and showings like every half hour.
Oh man.
It's just gone nuts. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm looking at flipping this property, going in and just renovating it a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I'm out of state, so I wouldn't be able to go over to the property. And I'm not sure if you're able to do this, but I'd be open to like if you could represent me too. I'm an agent out in Arizona, but we expanded out to Texas. Just obviously this market shift happened, and so we had to kind of start looking in some other markets. I'm not sure if you'd be able to represent us in the transaction as well. Would you?
I choose not to represent any buyers on this transaction.
Okay.
But I have an agent that is handling anybody that wants, that's interested in it.
Sure.
Would you like for me to give him your information and have him call you?
I would love that. If you don't mind, I just have a couple questions about the property before, because I don't want to waste your time or the other guy's time too.
Sure.
The property condition looks pretty good. Looks livable. It looks like it just needs like a little bit of updating. Is there anything from the photos that like is major that we can't see?
No, not really. Like I said, it's new. 2019 windows were replaced, Anderson windows, and 2019 HVAC was replaced. I think it's well maintained. He
Watch this.
told me yesterday. He said, "Jay, I don't know of anything that's wrong with this house."
Wow.
It's just a small little house that he's lived in for a long, long time.
Yep.
And it's got some strange colors on the wall.
Hey, I don't judge. I like the strange colors on the wall. That's an easy fix.
Right.
In this case too, just because I am going to assume that you're going to get a lot of offers, like you said you already had 2 in and you have 2 more you're expecting. Is there like a process that if this deal doesn't work out that I can get like on like a VIP list that before the deal goes on market, I could get like an ability to submit an offer on it? Or do you do that kind of process with these deals?
What we'll do is that I'm gonna present all the offers.
Okay.
And I have a feeling I'm gonna be presenting tomorrow.
Okay.
Because he just told me today, he said, I've been kept out of the house all day. I'm ready for this to end.
For sure.
So then if for some reason it goes back on the market, the ones I'll call first are the ones that have submitted offers.
Sure.
And just give you a heads up that we're getting ready to
Gotcha.
put it back on the market.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And are these other offers, are they investors or are they people looking to live in the house?
From what I can tell, every one of them, except possibly one, are investors.
For sure. And then is there any specific terms that are important to your seller, like a specific close date, earnest money amount, or anything along those lines?
No close date. I'll have to sit him down and pin him down on when he would work best. I know that like making it where he moves in 10 days may not work.
Sure.
But as long as you're open to being countered on a closing date, I think he would like to close and be out of there.
Okay. We could put on there like on or before 30 days too. So if he wanted to close sooner, we can always do that. But we'd be cash as is, no repairs or anything like that. And then just depending on kind of like what the other offers are, I could come in with non-refundable earnest money, just to kind of obviously put our offer a little bit more solid than the rest.
Right.
Are the other offers, and I'm not sure if you can disclose this or not, but are the other offers, are they at that list price?
I'm told that one will be.
Okay. Sounds good, but nothing in writing yet?
I haven't gotten it yet, but
Okay.
I was called and said, we will be putting an offer in. But until I have it in my hand, I have nothing.
I get it. No worries. Well, yeah, if you could just connect me with that other agent, I would love to get an offer submitted over today, and then hopefully get this deal done. And like I said, if it's not this one, hopefully it'll just be the next.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, then I will get this information to him right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool. And there you go. So that point of that, what I want you guys to understand was how I kept emphasizing to her was, if it's not this deal, it's the next. Now, part of the process, what she explained to me was complete technicality. If I don't get this deal or if I get accepted and that backs out, goes back on market, I'm going to call the other people that submitted offers. The most important thing to make note of there is that there's a couple things. So first off, she's going to say it's going to go back to the people that had sent in the offers. Well, Obviously, I mean, I would say that that's the first thing you should probably do if the deal falls through, is call all the other people that were interested. The second piece here is that I'm going to have this other agent who might be a little bit more well connected tell me exactly what I need to do to get this deal done, what price it is. And the minute, if it doesn't make sense, is when I start saying, okay, well, I'm looking for another one. So I turned a potential deal that ended up not being something into a relationship to where if they could find another opportunity just like this, I'm the first person they call before it goes on market. Now, she did say she's not going to be representing two people in the transaction, which is why she's passing us off. The reason due to that, it's not that she doesn't want to make twice as much money. I have had that happen one time where somebody told me they just didn't want to make double the money, which whatever. What she was saying is probably because she doesn't want to get into any kind of litigation scenario where they're putting a liability on her for representing two sides of the transaction. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it's her broker's doing or her doing, regardless, I don't agree with it, but that doesn't mean that we can do anything about it. They've got the listing. She said no. So what we can do is we can rely on this other person that she's going to pass us off to be able to go and get the deal done for us. Oh, Benson, we can't hear you.
Yeah, she did say she chooses not to on this transaction. So that made me it made me believe that maybe there's something about this particular one that she just didn't feel comfortable. I'm not sure what it is.
For sure.
But so what's your process of submitting an offer now? Like if you talk to this other agent, they want to submit an offer, they're like, yeah, let's do it. What do you do? What do you send over?
Great question. So most agents are going to ask me for first off a proof of funds. So in this case, what I'd always recommend, and this is where it's super important to have your buyer first, you have a few different options. One, if you've got the money in the bank, send them a proof of funds of just your bank statement. Now, understanding not everybody's going to have $190,000 in the bank, call it even 200,000. What I would recommend then is a local hard money lender or private money lender, which is where you are comfortable enough to be able to go in and actually take this deal down yourself, being fully aware that you don't need to close on this. You could still wholesale it. But what you want to do is have somebody backing you that has actual buying capability. Third option is that you can go in and have that buyer that you already had talked with give you their proof of funds. If they're an experienced and seasoned investor, they already have proof of funds letters set up. They might even have a relationship with somebody local that this agent knows as well. So that's the three different ways that you would go and have proof of funds lined up. Now let's talk about the terms. So when this other agent messages me and says, hey, I'm interested in writing up this offer for you, what we want to do is a few things. Number one is the address. Number two, we need to talk about our inspection period. This is so key. This is your due diligence in some states, and I believe it actually is called due diligence in Texas, is we want to make sure that this is a minimum of 10 days. So address, we're going to talk about inspection. We're going to talk about our price. We're going to talk about the close of escrow date. We're going to talk about our title company or attorney, depending on what market you're in. We're going to put any disclosures we need to. And then lastly, we want to check on his agency. So in this case, I don't need to say anything about agency because it's going to be assumed that this agent that reaches out to me would be someone that would be representing me in the transaction. So what he's going to ask me is how much earnest money, what kind of price are you willing to offer? What close date do you want? Do you have a specific title company that you want to use? Now, buyers get to choose the title company. Doesn't mean they always get their title company of choice. But what I can do is say, I want to use 1, 2, 3 title company out in Texas, because I know that this title company is going to be the best of the best. I've done deals with them in the past. They're wholesale friendly. But what we're going to do is understand. Now, we just recap: purchase price, earnest money, close of escrow, title company. That's the main things. Aside from that, the only other thing I'd add in, which we put in the state of Arizona, is that I have to disclose that I'm a licensed real estate agent. So in this case, I would tell them I'm a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona with Real Broker, and that would be about it. So they would send the email over to you. You would DocuSign it, send it back. Now you are going to just wait. Whatever your response time, which is another term. Typically, she said she's going to be doing responses and meeting with the seller tomorrow. I would always say to put a 24-hour minimum of response time, but I didn't need to ask that question with her because she told me that they're going to be going in because the seller's motivated and he doesn't want to deal with this anymore. So that's the beauty of this. They would send over the offer, you submit it, well, you sign it, they submit it, and then from there, it's the waiting game. You could follow up tomorrow morning and say, hey, how are we looking? The most important thing is just to stay in front of that agent because you almost don't want to make them feel bad, but remembering that the hardest part of being the agent is to find the client. If they don't help you, you'll find another realtor that will. So that's the mentality to have. Aside from that, this is a deal that we'll go in, we'll submit an offer. I'll go and do a little bit more underwriting. Send me a message on Instagram if you're in this market or if you want this deal. I'll help you guys set it up yourself to where you guys can take it. I don't want to do this deal. So I will help you guys out literally from start to finish. on this video today, we really want to emphasize just going in and showing you guys how to find the deals and what the conversations look like to start.
Absolutely. That one looks great. You basically covered all of the terms. One other couple things, earnest money, how much, usually they're going to tell you what that amount's going to be.
Mhm.
It's usually right around 1% of
Correct.
the purchase price. So, not,
In this case,
$1,900 on this one.
$1,900. And what I would even say too is you could get this with $1,000 if you want to go aggressive, 1,500.
Hmm.
And also a note too is that Denise put here, this is great. In Texas, they also have an option fee, which there's two sets of earnest money. One, the option fee is typically non-refundable. The earnest money is refundable. So there is ways you could put in writing for the option fee to be negotiable. So what I've done in the past, like for example, is we did a $500 option fee and a $1,500 earnest money. Earnest money was refundable during our inspection period. The $500 option fee, what I did was $100 per day, and it was a 5-day inspection. So if I were to cancel on the third day, I'd only put up $300 non-refundable as opposed to $500. Now, obviously, this is what matters most is, again, having your buyer lined up, because if you just go and get properties under contract without the intent to purchase, you're messing with a dangerous game. Everything we teach here and everything I want to make sure you guys understand is how to wholesale with no risk. It's doing it with inspection periods and basically having contingencies that protect you. And same thing if you were going to go buy it as a traditional buyer, you were going and buying your own personal home, you have a few contingencies. It's going to be more than just an inspection period. One, all of us here make sure we have an inspection period on the house we're buying as a primary because we want to make sure there's not a bomb under it. Two, we have this fun little thing called a lender. And a lender is going to come in and say, hey, you don't have $400,000 of this house you want to buy. You're going to put down 3.5, 5, 10, 20%, depending on how many houses you own or what your preference is. But then they're going to give you a loan for the rest. So now in that case, you have a finance contingency where we also have a lovely little thing where finance contingency is technically put an asterisk. It's two different contingencies. There's financing to where they hope that you don't buy a car in the middle of the transaction. And two, there's an appraisal. So if they appraise the house and it doesn't come back worth what you got it under contract for, typically as the buyer, you have to pay the difference. On the investment side, there is no financing contingency because it's cash. And even if it's a hard money loan, it's cash. And second is that there is no appraisal. Some hard money lenders will do an appraisal, but in that case, they don't really care as long as they can see the comparable properties. They know your plan, they trust you, and they've done business with you in the past. So, boom.
Boom. Yes. So at that point, you're just waiting. You submit the offer, and then you just follow up with the agent, and they're going to let you know whether or not they accept the offer or whether or not it was, they want to negotiate. And then at that point, once you guys agree on price and terms, you have an executed contract. You got signatures from both parties, and now you put your marketing hat on. Now you go talk to We Four Homes LLC, and you call them up and say, "Hey, I told you I had a property out here. It's on Glen Haven. It's at 3-1. The ARV is right around $280,000. Looks like that matches your buying criteria. The house is solid. It has everything else. You give them, the comparables. You shoot those over. All of these CMAs inside of Privy have sharing links attached to them at the top right there where it says share. Ryan, that's that link that's there allows you to share these comparative market analysis reports with anybody. You can share them with your agent. You can share them with your buyers list. You can share them with your buyer, your agents. If you're an agent, you can send these to your clients, and they can view these reports on their computer, and they don't have to Privy user, and they can use all that information to make a better decision on whatever it is you're asking them. But at that point, you're marketing it, and as soon as you can find somebody who's like, okay, I want this deal, you're like, great, here's my assignment contract, right? The assignment contract says that I'm going to assign this property to you. You're going to show up in closing instead of me. You're going to, give me my earnest money back, right? And then also whatever your fee is, 10,000, 5,000, $1,000 assignment fee, and then all you do is you sit around, you wait for closing.
Absolutely. And also, too, guys, understand this is a numbers game. I always compare this to baseball because I think it's a really good comparison. And I forget who mentioned it to me first. Benson, was it you? Did you talk about baseball analogy?
I use all kinds of sports analogies, not baseball too much though.
So baseball, to be considered like an elite player, you're batting like 350.
All right.
So 1,000 is that you're batting 100%, that you're getting on base every time. So if in the major league of baseball, you are considered to be one of the greatest hitting 350, that means that 7 times you're striking out. You're not getting on base. You're popping up. So understand that in this business, it's the same kind of philosophy. To be the greatest of all time at this, you have to be submitting a lot of offers to start, but you have to be really good at taking rejection. So what we've done and why I think we've really thrived in this this kind of strategy is that I was an agent prior to becoming an investor. So a lot of times I understand what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and I really understand too the other side of being the wholesaler, that sometimes it's intimidating to get on the phone. A lot of people are like, Ryan, you sound really good. I'm like, years. This is year 7. Like, this is 3 years of working this strategy specific. And what I could tell you guys too is that with it being a numbers game, it's more of a relationship game. And I actually saw Caroline put this on there. I appreciate you. Shout out to Caroline. But it's relationships. So I don't take rejection. I build relationships. It's that key saying of I don't lose. I win or I learn. In this case, I don't lose. I win or I build relationships. And at the end of the day, if that relationship doesn't work out, I didn't waste anything more than just my time, but this is my job. So am I wasting my time or am I working harder to get better at what I'm doing? So it's all about how you look at it and your mindset behind it, but understanding too, the whole marathon, not a sprint mentality is what you need to have here. We submit over 100 offers every single month. And that's with the hopes right now in this current market to get between 3 to 5 deals. So with 100 offers going out, we're hoping for 3 to 5% success rate. How many offers are you actually submitting to be able to go get 1 deal per month? And just to like, again, like I hate that I sound like a YouTuber here. Make sure to like and subscribe and put on like your notifications, because these kind of videos are going to change your life. For those of you that I saw a comment earlier saying, I'm trying to get my first deal. The goal here, I want you to understand, it's the same philosophy I have with my students. I'm not here to take, I'm here to give. So whatever it is that you guys are trying to get, I'm assuming it's probably deals, I want to give you deals. I will walk you through the entire process. I will tell you what terms to write. We will build buyer relationships. On these episodes, I want to go in random markets every week. The more engagement, the more interactive you guys are, the better it's going to be, because whatever market you're in, you're struggling with, or even if you're in another market and you want to just follow along with us, go in and find deals and we'll call them together. That's the beauty of having myself and even Benson. I mean, we're busy guys and we put aside a couple hours every week for this to be able to spend with you guys. We want you guys to understand, just like anything in life, what you put into it's what you're going to get out, but really emphasize that here with us. Be intentional, show up, put in the work. I promise you, you guys will all get your first deal.
Well said. It's exciting. You guys are in the right place. We're going to keep doing these. Go back and watch this. This is all, if you're watching on YouTube, the video is going to be there. If you're on our Facebook group, the video is going to be there. How do they find that previous one? Is it just, I suppose it's just in our lives, right?
Yeah, so it depends on where you're watching. So if you're watching from the Privy Facebook group or from my Facebook group, you can continue to watch it on there. You can go back through if you're in the Facebook group and see the previous videos in there. If you're watching on YouTube, it's on my channel on Property Hunting with Privy. It's in its own little category. Episode 1, it's up there. Episode 2 is this one that you guys are watching live. It's also on the Privy YouTube channel. I think that we are putting it inside a playlist in the next week or so. So we just need to get that all made. But you guys can watch all the replays on here. What I would highly encourage, if anything, is actually to go back and rewatch them all at least twice. So the reason I say that is because I want you guys to really, we emphasized this at the beginning, but the point of this is that you can take away one gold nugget. If you can take one thing out of every single one of these lives to implement into your business, hopefully that's what changes everything. I mean, we always hear the saying, you're one relationship away. You're one gold nugget, one tweak away from your business of being able to really just scale it to the level you want to. So I appreciate all you guys. Benson, do you have another meeting or anything you got to hop into?
I have 5 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So do we have the same, is it use that code Zolin for the banner for everyone?
Yeah, they can use the code Zolin.
Cool. Okay, guys,
Zolin.
This is what I want you guys to take away from this. I'm not here to sell my course. I mean, if you guys decide you want to look into our program and our community, I would love to have you. But what I want you guys to understand first off is that you can go get Privy and it's a lot cheaper. We offer a discount for the first month, 20% off if you use code Zolin. Check out that link, tinyurl.com/getprivy. This software changed our lives. This software is out there. It is consistent. It is constantly upgrading. So there's things that are always being added and changed. And I will tell you that it's not every day you get one of the owners of the company to be able to pop in every single week with you guys live, answering questions, showing you guys how to use the software. That's the only sales pitch I'll ever say, is that I will not associate and go and try to affiliate all these different communities and stuff like that, because I just want to make sure, like, you guys understand, I want to practice what I preach, and what I use and what I do is with Privy. So Privy changed my life. It could change all of yours as well. Benson and I have something popping up here in a couple weeks too. It's going to be like a little 2-day challenge. Once we have more information, we'll send out that to you guys. But in the meantime, you guys can get a discount and sign up today, and it will be awesome. So
Amazing. Well, Ryan, good work today, brother. Let us know how
absolutely.
that deal goes. We can give us an update
Definitely.
maybe next week on what happens with this if you actually get an offer in. But it sounds like they're going to have some people that are really hungry for deals that are going to come in at asking, potentially even higher.
For sure. And that's where the relationship piece is going to be what I am looking for. And I made sure to emphasize that with the agent so that at the end of the day, if I don't get this deal, it will be the next. And that's the abundance mentality. So in this case too, is this code working for only today or can be used tomorrow? It can be used tomorrow as well. That code is my name. So as long as you remember my name, you should be good. Aside from that, if you guys need anything, catch me on Instagram. Would love to help you guys out. We appreciate all you guys that stayed through the end, all 140 of you guys. So you guys are awesome, and we look forward to growing this with all of you. I appreciate you, and we will see you guys next week.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.